You are listening to the Be a Better Being podcast, hosted by the founder of Better Beings, Michelle Zellner. Michelle's experiences have equipped her with knowledge and perspective, and for nearly 3 decades, she has been informing, influencing, and inspiring thousands on their journeys. This show spotlights guests of diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise, but they all align with Michelle's purpose and passion to help you be a better human being. There is something for everyone on their way to a healthier, happier life. Enjoy the show.
Greetings. Thank you for tuning into the Be a Better Being podcast. This is episode 144, being released on September 15th, as we continue to embrace and celebrate all things wellness, because after all, this is the Be a Better Being podcast, but also it is National Self-Care Awareness Month. I am absolutely delighted for our next guest. Joy Watts is a certified women's strength trainer and the founder of Aging with Grace Fitness, a faith-driven fitness movement helping women get strong for life physically and spiritually. After starting her own journey overweight and chasing weight loss, Joy discovered that shrinking your body does not fix how you feel about it. Everything changed when she found strength training, and even more so when she began to anchor her fitness in faith. She recently launched a faith-based strength training app, AWG Fitness, designed to make it simple for women to follow a program, build real strength, and honor God with their bodies. Her mission is clear: to help women be strong all the days of their lives, inside and out, stop chasing a number, and start stewarding their bodies with purpose. And that is why she's on this show, because she is truly a better being. So Joy, thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, I saw a post by our mutual friend Tracy about this app that you were launching, and she was singing the praises of what an amazing personal trainer you are. And I thought, well, I need to know who this woman is and what is this app. And after about a 30-second conversation with you, I knew that this would be something that I think a lot of my listeners are going to be inspired by, but also to be able to take advantage of an incredible tool that does not exist out there, at least not that I'm aware of. So let's just kind of start with your story, give a little background, and then we'll fast forward to where you are today and what you're doing.
So a little background as far as health goes. When I was younger, I didn't really struggle with weight too much, but growing up in the 90s, we had that ideal skinny that we kind of thought we wanted, So that's kind of what my younger years were like. And then went into having children, and with that comes weight gain. And then it was just hard to get rid of the weight. So I thought, diet till we can lose the weight. And that's really what my main focus was on, losing weight. Not even understanding that I was completely missing the mark, and actually felt like I was choking the more I tried. So the struggle continued, and I was one of the few people that were able to strong arm myself into weight loss. But in the process, I was able to learn a lot and really fully understand what health meant, and that it wasn't a number on the scale. So with my trials and my struggles, God really revealed to me that, we have a bigger purpose in stewarding our bodies. And that's where things really changed for me.
So let's go back even a little further and where your faith plays a role just in life in general. I think there's a little more to the story that the audience probably needs to know about. So I want to go a little deeper.
So yeah, just growing up, I had a pretty, unconventional childhood, pretty rough childhood. So there's a big hand of God in my story. So really, really rough childhood, moved out at 13, just to make a long story short, kind of had to find my own way, struggled with addiction for years and years. God delivered me from that. And then, shortly after that's kind of when my health journey started. But God's hand was evident in that. I didn't really hear him at first when it came to the health aspect. But as I progressed, and everything in our health overlaps with our walk with Christ, and it's just really, really phenomenal. And it gives us a bigger purpose than just a number on a scale. And we can leverage all of that with our time in the gym. And that's just one thing that I absolutely love.
So as a 13-year-old making your way on your own and obviously having some role models in your life that were not incredibly positive influences, hence why we are now struggling with addiction, talk about like the path out of that. Like, okay, God had a hand in it clearly, but what was Joy's journey through that?
So the crazy thing, this is not one of your normal journeys out of addiction. I could probably talk all day on that topic when it comes to my testimony with Christ. I was one of those people when I was addicted. I did secular treatments. I did the 12 steps. I, did everything that the book said to do when it came to rehabilitation for an addict. I really did, only to find myself using again. So when I say my story is one that's kind of unconventional in the sense of a worldview, it was July 28th, 2010, and God literally delivered me with a blink of an eye. I was standing on the street with my husband now, but wasn't my husband at the time. And God literally said, right now. And I drove away in my car with nothing. I mean, I was homeless with nothing but the clothes on my back. I'd been living in my car, and that's how quick God delivered me. So there's not a lot in the sense of what did Joy do? Yes, I had the wrestling. I had come to the end of myself, and God had to really work on my heart, but he literally delivered me in the blink of an eye. And it's absolutely mind blowing to think about.
And so from that day forward, how did life look different?
Oh boy, how did life look different? Well, a lot of healing comes when, you have, I hate to use the word trauma, really, this day and age, it's thrown around so loosely, but when you've had some tough times, it's going to take some healing. And, by God's grace, he slowly walked me through those things, and of course, even to this day, we all have, battles that we face. But as far as life changing, I think it was real messy for quite a few years. And then, so I have 4 kids. So this was after 2 of my kids. So there was a lot of dealing with, as being a mom and an addict and getting my kids back. There's a whole bunch of stuff to unpack right there, guilt, shame, all of that stuff. And that's actually kind of links back into why I do what I do in the fitness, is because I realized the shame that I had been dealing with, and it overlaps. I mean, mine was, of course, addiction and childhood trauma and stuff, but it's also with the scale, with the way we feel about our bodies. So God really just allowed me to use fitness as the fulcrum to be able to meet women instead of addiction. I guess he gave me this passion, this calling.
And so when did fitness really start to enter your life as a standard protocol?
Well, funny thing, growing up, I would say athletic. I had 3 older brothers. So, you rural North Idaho, I was a wild little tomboy. So, I was active growing up. But as far as fitness itself, I would say after my 3rd child, I was overweight. Again, this is where it comes back to that. I gained 80 pounds with my pregnancy, which is mind blowing. So that's where that desire for weight loss came in, really. But I was thinking, again, the habits and the mindset from before, I was like, well, I need to do cardio. I need to lose weight, right? I need to eat less and I need to run more. So that's what I did. But the kicker for me was I have asthma, and I was told that, you're never going to be able to run. So kind of for me, where it started, I've always been kind of that person that likes to think outside of the box, blaze their own trail. I was thinking, watch me. You say I can't run. I'll show you I can, basically to myself, those limiting beliefs is what I guess the world calls them, So that's kind of where it started, was kind of just I want to see if I can do this. And I actually fell in love with running first before I even understood the depth of strength training and how just crucial that is for our long-term health on every aspect of our life. So I fell in love with running first.
And for context, just for listeners, give us a little timeline. Like, what year was this? How old are you? I know we're on after child number 3, but in the span of life, where are you at this point?
So this was about 14 years ago. So my daughter's 14. So 2010 is when God delivered me from addiction. And then a few years later, after having my daughter and gaining 80 pounds, I wanted weight loss. And so I've been on the health journey for about 14 years, again, starting with running and just really a desire for weight loss at whatever cost necessary, I guess, was my mindset at that time.
Was there any time where it felt like you left one addiction and were headed towards another one, or was it really like, this is a new level of health?
I don't know if you've ever ran, but there's a thing called a runner's high. So, actually that's a question that I still sometimes often ask God, like, did I cross addict essentially into this? And I will say honestly that I don't necessarily know if it's cross addicting into this, but I will say that it is something that I have to constantly check my heart with and that I wouldn't idolize it and put that, in a spot that it doesn't need to be, because I can be prone to want to do it, want more and more and more. And I think all women can relate to that. We want it more. We want to feel better. And that's actually why God has called me to this and basically allowed me to walk it out, is so that I'm accountable in the sense of sharing my struggles, that I too struggle with wanting more, wanting to do it better, wanting to, to just the kind of relatability that we're all in this together, no matter where we're at in our journey. And I just really, really appreciate that aspect.
Excellent. Yeah. So we're running. Are we changing dietary habits? What does that element of the path look like for you?
So about then I think it was keto at that time. So it was, yes, eating patterns were changed. It was take all the carbs away. And I did lose weight, like being really, really strict, as we know. And that's why diets in the industry is so saturated, is because they work. And I use that term work loosely, because what does work really mean? They work in the sense we get weight loss, but is it successful, maintainable weight loss? I would say no, but they work for what they're designed to do, right? So yes, I cut out food groups. I ran, and I would say probably for about, and then I soon got pregnant with my fourth child. So I would run off and on. I want to say I probably lost 20 pounds or so before I ended up getting pregnant again. So then I would start the cycle yet again, hadn't understood strength training. So I also was one of those people with pregnancy. I did not steward my health well at all.
Can you elaborate a little bit? What does that mean?
So I did not move my body in any sort of stretch of the imagination. I would have, cookies, and I'm not against cookies. I'm a well-balanced kind of person, but it was sit on the couch and eat all the cookies you can and not care and not walk and not anything. And like I said, I don't think that the wool had been lifted from my eyes per se at this time, as far as health and the depth of what that means. I was still thinking, weight loss. And when I'm done with this pregnancy, we'll try it all again, right?
So now we have 4 kids, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing the man that was at the side of the road with you, who you said wasn't my husband at the time, he is husband at this point in life.
Yes, he is. 15 years.
Excellent. So maybe share a little bit about what that dynamic looked like as you are struggling with the weight, and obviously 4 kids is a lot to manage. What's going on just in terms of support and, encouragement and accountability and all of that from your partner?
So I would say, and actually looking back over my journey, and even in general, the journey of women that I work with, I think support is more than accountability, in my opinion. When I started my journey, as far as weight loss and working out, I didn't have any accountability. And yes, my husband was there to support me, but this is kind of what brought me through to wanting to do what I do, is because I understood how much more we needed basically somebody to just hold us, another woman especially. Of course, we know, like my husband, he's a godsend for sure. But it's different when we have somebody that's kind of in the trenches and can understand a woman's where we're at with the whole body shaming and all of that stuff to a whole nother level. Of course, my husband thought I was beautiful then and now, so it's a different kind of support, but support nonetheless that I think is really needed, in our home. We see that a lot with women, that they have a hard time progressing in their journey because they feel like, the husband's having them snack or whatever. So I would say I had an extreme amount of support from the get-go. And it would have been in any way that I went, but especially in my health journey. And he's actually the one who said, why don't you get your personal training certification 4 or 5 years ago? And he's the one who built me this gym, and he's the one who helped me get the app. So it was definitely his full support in all of this.
Yeah. And I mean, I think my listeners know we talk about this a lot, right? We're pack animals. We're supposed to be doing life with other people. And there are so many benefits to doing that: support, guidance, nurturing, challenging, celebrating, holding accountable, all the things. And yes, can we do it on our own? Probably. Are we supposed to do it on our own? No. Is it a lot easier when you're not doing it on your own? Yes. And yet that, I think, to your point, is one of the things that most people find to be incredibly difficult. Maybe they have certain kinds of support in ways, but a lot of times it is that person they're sharing life with that they're either actually intentionally sabotaging them because for whatever reason they don't want them to succeed, or they just don't know how to give and receive support in a way that is useful to that person. And I think some of that falls upon us, right? I have to articulate to that person, here's how you can support me. And then, if they really do love you enough, they'll figure out how to do that. But I think sometimes we assume that they should know what we need. And that's not fair. There's no way that anybody should know or could know what someone needs. So I would encourage anybody who feels like they don't have the support that is helpful to dig in deep and decide and figure out, have you actually clarified for yourself what that looks like? And have you communicated that to whoever it is that you're hoping would give you support? And if so, then either they're not quite comprehending, or for whatever reason, they're unwilling to do it. Then we'll have to figure out what to do from there, right? But I think it's important to kind of come at it from all angles. And absolutely, there's a lot of personal accountability, even when it comes to finding the best avenues to success, which means figuring out who and how people are going to support you.
For sure. I think one little thing in there that I noticed that you said that I see a lot in women is, being able to come to people and be vulnerable. But I think that's kind of where I like to step in, is because I see a lot of women, they're afraid to be honest with themselves because they think, oh man, I've failed. I've let myself down. I've let my kids down. And this is where, for me, the Christ part comes in, is because we don't have to be, we can come to the table just like we are. And that's why I did Aging with Grace, is because grace isn't an excuse, to just not move. It's an actual action. We apply grace when we've been given from God. We've been given grace, and we can give it to ourselves. And women have a very hard time with that. It's either I give myself grace as an excuse to not do anything, or I give no, grace is an actual action. We're honest, we're open, we're accountable, and we're drawn to move. We're not condemning ourselves, which, again, that's where we can actually accept the support, able to ask for the support that we need, is when we're able to be, first and foremost, honest with ourselves. And I find that for women hard. And I think sometimes they maybe don't even realize, because they're busy with motherhood or this or that, or, again, like I shared some of my story, who knows what has happened, to make us have the beliefs that we have,
Okay, so we now have child number 4, and take it from there. What's the body doing? What are your habits? We've been eating cookies and ice cream on the couch, not moving. Now we have a 4th child. Go.
Oh boy. So this is where, knowing this was the last child, because I had 4 C-sections. So it was like, I can't, to be honest, I can't really remember the urgency as far as like a time, but I do vividly remember that obviously our internal dialogue plays a huge role in everything in our lives, but I do remember vividly saying, like, I knew, and again, this was when I was still focused on the scale. I said I was going to reach 120 pounds no matter what. I didn't have a time, and I just knew that. I just had that commitment in me no matter what. And then it was in that journey, which I want to say probably, so that's been 12 years since my youngest. So I want to say took about 6 years for me to wrestle with diets and cardio. And I mean, I went to the gym kind of to do a class so still not even touching strength training at this point, for the 6 years ago, basically, I guess is when I finally strength training, but still wrestling with diets. And I did get to that 120 pounds. I did. And I think that's kind of when the light bulb moment went off. I mean, I remember the day vividly. It was my son's 6th birthday. Got on the scale that day in October, and I was 120 pounds. And I was like, this is it. This is it. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. And I think that's when God was like, okay, you're the end of yourself. You're the end of joy, striving and trying. And I allowed you to do this. Now will you let me work on your heart and the actual depth of health and how we steward and all of those things?
Oh, you froze there for a moment. Jesse will edit that out. Yeah, because I'm not sure. Sometimes if you're talking but you were done. Okay, so Jesse, resume. So we get to this 120 pounds and you're expecting, right, like the balloons to be dropped from the ceiling, right? Like she won, right? And yet it is very anticlimactic, right? So 2 questions. 1, was strength training just not on the radar, or were you like, no, that doesn't work, this is the way to go? Tell me why we have resisted strength training so far.
I think resources mainly. In our little town, we have one gym, and I just wasn't comfortable going there. And obviously little kids, I didn't have the time, a stay-at-home mom. So I had done, probably like every single one of your listeners, I had done beach body workouts. So I did those for years and years. I was never a coach, but I did do the workouts. So, I mean, that was probably the extent of like strength training. I think by the time I was getting done with those, I had slowly built up a 8-pound weight, a 10-pound weight, just over time doing these little home workouts, and turned into more of those home workouts than running because I couldn't leave the home, so it was kind of this slow fade of resources. I had no other option besides these at-home workouts. And they were kind of, strength training as much as like, not really strength training, but it was definitely an introduction.
Okay, so we hit 120 pounds. There's no big party, balloons dropping from the ceiling. It's the aha light bulb moment. And then what? And
then I think some personality wise, like leading back to that person of just, I'm able to just show up. Even though, so it was like, now is when really was my integrity, I guess, going to show through, in the sense of, am I going to continue this now that I got what I wanted? And we see that often, in weight loss journeys. And what does that look like? So it was a slow fade, but I did start, and again, as this time you see more information in your face, so you're able to just have, I guess, more resources to be able to read about things. So as far as strength training goes, you would just see it was, I guess, becoming more common. And I just continued to show up with those home workouts because that's really all I had, until I would just slowly add a little weight. And then I would start to see, as I want to say probably about a year and a half of being at my goal weight, of showing up consistently with these home workouts, that I started to see a little bit of muscle. And then I was like, okay, well, like what? Of course, muscle looks cool, but then I started digging in, just the importance of it in our health journey. And I went head first, and just my mind was blown at what it actually does for our bodies, and just the depth of how we need it. And of course, then, kids are getting a little bit older, and you start thinking, okay, not that I'm getting old, but I'm aging, and your parents are aging, and, you just see the frailty in life. So everything combining that, you're like, okay, there's something to this, right?
And you mentioned that your husband was the one that encouraged you. Had he been active, physically fit, strength training? Like, what was his health plan during all of this time?
Funny thing. He went to college for wrestling. He was a wrestler in college. But if anybody knows us, they know we're like completely opposite. He's actually not in shape and he does not work out at all, not even a little bit. He just provides for us and works really hard, and he lets me do all the working out and everything. It's kind of interesting, I guess, because when people see us, it's like, he is overweight and then there's me, so it is this really big contrast. And sometimes it's even, if people don't know me, it's hard to even elaborate, what I mean, what that looks like in our home, because I think some people think like usually, the husbands or the wife or whatever, they're both doing it together. And it's just kind of been really interesting, I guess, for us that we live in the same house and I'm in all of this health stuff. And it's not that he doesn't care about health, but he's not working out and he's not doing any of those things.
We're going to get him on board because we need strong, healthy men to age with us. This is part of the problem, guys.
This is true.
It's part of the problem. All right. So you're seeing results, you're learning, you're diving in. You're like, oh my gosh, muscle is magical. Yes. And some of us have been saying this for like 30 years. So it's great that it has now become mainstream, and the more voices that can be saying it, the better. I really think what did it a huge disservice, as so many things, was just the constant bombardment of the bodybuilder figure, right? So when anybody sees or thinks of strength training, immediately they're like, well, I don't want to be a bodybuilder. And unless you want to be a bodybuilder, then you should not touch weights, right? And I think that's where so much misinformation and just lack of information stemmed from. This constant focus on strength training for bodybuilding, and you have these physiques that mostly back then were very unnatural. That wasn't just from lifting weights. And it left this gigantic gap for so many people, but specifically for women. I mean, you're a little younger than me. You're a lot younger than me. But it was, the pink weights. I mean, there's even a joke about the pink weights, right? That's what the women go lift, the pink weights, right? And I, similar to you, I was the cardio queen because that's what we were taught. Do cardio, do cardio, do cardio. Gotta do cardio. Heaven forbid I take a little time from cardio to lift some weights, right? Because I gotta burn calories. And it was one of these things where I was in the field. I am a personal trainer. I'm like, okay, let me give this strength training thing like the good old college try for real. And I did it like 3 months, totally committed, very scary to give up my cardio. Whereas when I burn all my calories, to take the time to do strength training. And once I did that, I was like, oh, now I get it. That cardio, that's so cute. It doesn't do anything like what strength training does. And ever since then, I have been like screaming from the mountaintops, hustle, hustle, build your muscle. And so here we have another generation coming up of STAIM, like to say that you are still in that era of, oh, it's eat less and move more. And that's still happening because I still talk to women. It doesn't matter what age they are. They still, oh, eat less and move more. It's like, how is this still the mainstream message? I don't get it. We know so much. How is that still the message? How has not every single human being on the planet yet started picking up some weights? Because we know so much. And yes, listeners, I am preaching right now. Yes, we know how important muscle is for everything, for your brain health. You don't want to have Alzheimer's? Great. Go lift some weights. That's how you're going to prevent that. You want to be able to get up off the floor and play with your grandkids? Yeah, when you're 30, you should probably start to strengthen your quads and your hamstrings and have some flexibility. Yeah, when you're 30, you should start that. So I mean, the fact that you have made that journey and figured it out, and I can't wait to talk about your app, because I think, to your point, it's accessibility of information and it's accessibility to resources. I have people, well, I just don't know what to do. There's no excuse for not knowing what to do. There isn't. Not today, there's not, because we have so many ways to get high quality information, and Joy is one of them. So let's talk about, now you're a personal trainer. Now you've started really embracing this approach and helping these women dial it in and figure it out and how to honor their bodies, that movement is not punishment. Movement is one of the most beautiful ways to honor your human, and doing it through strength training. So let's talk about now the career, the profession, and we'll talk about the app as well.
First, one thing I'd like to add about that muscle. Also, weight loss is everywhere. If a woman wants weight loss, her number one priority should be strength training. I just need to throw that in there. Weight loss and strength training. And
to that point, thank you for bringing that, because I have actually earlier in the year, and I can't believe I forgot about it, I have committed, and clearly I forgot about it, to stop using the term weight loss, because that's actually not what you're trying to do. You are trying to modify your body composition. So it's really body composition modification. That's the goal. Weight loss is not your goal. Modifying your body composition is your goal. And the best way to do that is to build muscle.
This is true. We want a metabolic engine. That's what lights me on fire when strength training. And I think, again, that's what really revealed to me once I started studying, muscle and skeletal muscle and what it does, is that is the hack for weight loss, fat loss. I mean, for my clients, I don't call it dieting. We enter fat loss phases and we do it accordingly, to their readiness and willingness and abilities and everything. But the crucial thing in all of our goals is strength training. It really is. Like, everything flows from that. If we want to get all sciencey about it, like our endocrine system, every single system in our body revolves around our muscle clocks. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Exactly. And that you're educating people on that level is exactly what we need. So now your husband built a home gym where you're having people come and do strength training. So yeah, let's talk about the career trajectory.
So 4 years ago in our little town, there's one gym, the one that I was mentioning, that just, a bunch of machines and stuff that I just didn't feel comfortable going to. And then in our little town, some people opened up a jiu-jitsu center and it had some free weights. So friends of the family, I went and tried it out, and there was some classes or whatever, but it was all, like I said, free weights, and it had heavier weights than I had at home. So no machines. And I'm all for machines or whatever, but I really do love free weights. So I was able to experience that. And again, I was able to partake of their classes and then fell in love with it even more. And then at that time, about 4.5 years ago, their trainer, they didn't have one anymore. So that's when I started telling my husband, and he's like, well, why don't you just get certified? So I started out coaching at that little tiny gym, Metcons and a little bit more CrossFit style, and then I moved it to, progressive overload hypertrophy programming towards the end. But that's when my husband's like, well, why don't we just do something at our house? And his shop had a really nice lean-to, and so we closed it in, and word of mouth, I filled up with clients in no time at all. So
I love that. And so now we're going 4 years, and I know you just recently released the app. So just talk a little bit about what that looks like, because we are in a very digital on-demand age, obviously, right there. In my opinion, nothing replaces true one-on-one interaction. However, I know that's not realistic for everybody in the world, obviously, to come to Idaho and train with you in your home gym. So explain the app and how that works, and how you can tailor programs to meet individual needs.
Yeah, so I did years of time with in-person clients and kind of honed my skill, I guess you could say. And I actually, maybe your listeners know, like Trainerize, Heroic, Everfit. There's these apps. This is kind of the little backstory about why I decided to come up with this. Because there are some training apps out there. You have to have a coach, obviously, on the other end, but take your pick, right? They're everywhere. And they make these apps for coaches to coach people. And within the app, it has everything that you would possibly need to coach somebody. And about 3 years ago, I thought, sure, that's how we reach more people, right? So I thought I'd give it a try. And it felt like sludge for me. I don't know. I thought it was me at first. Little did I know, again, God's timing and God's hand. I tried it with a couple friends just to see how the back and forth worked with these apps. And it just couldn't get it to work for me. So I was like, okay, God wants me to just wait on the online stuff. And so I kind of let it die for a little bit. And just another cool little glimpse about God's timing. I homeschool my kids. And so I only have so many hours in the day with in-person clients. And I remember, like, when a client would roll through, I would be asking God, like, should I work on the online? I felt like I was missing something. And sure enough, when a client would roll through, I would think, okay, now work on the stuff. And somebody would reach out and say, do you have that specific time? And so I just knew. So I let the online die for some time. And then about a year and a half ago, we were walking through some trials, and then God provided this opportunity from somebody that was a friend of the family. And I kind of jokingly said, hey, you want to do a fitness app for your resume? And he's like, sure. Anyways, we met. I had in my mind, in my heart, an idea of if I could ever do an app, this is what it would be. And everything just worked out smoothly. And needless to say, even a little thing about what happened in that time, I even reached out to companies to build me a custom app. Through all of that, I was like trying to make this happen. And God was like, just no, not right now, Joy, not right now, until he obviously had perfect timing. So that's when AWG Fitness came about. And in all of that, I was able to have more hours, more time with what is it that I would be able to provide for people that's going to be of value. That I always say it's not for everybody, but everybody can be using this, so it's like there's value in it for everybody should they, choose to use it. So it's strength training simplified. You have a program to follow that's hypertrophy based. So progressive overload, our goal is to build skeletal muscle, no guesswork. You can click on the program that you're in. We usually do 6-week blocks. So the idea that we need to keep our muscles guessing is dead. Let's stop with that. We don't need to keep our muscles guessing. We need to work on efficiency. We need to progressively overload, and we need to be able to repeat the movement patterns for a long period of time so we can create adaptations, mechanical tension, get our muscles to grow. It's hard work. Building skeletal muscle, especially after the age of 30, we're fighting an uphill battle, So I wanted to be able to provide the simplicity of click on your phone when you go in to the gym and just do the movements in order. So the plan, of course, you open it and you can track your weight. You can log your weight. So that was a huge thing. We need to see what weight we're lifting so that we can progress in that, because so many women go into the gym to work out. And yes, working out and exercising is great, but with training with the intent to put on skeletal muscle is something completely different. You see people day in and day out in the gym and their body's not changing. Why? They're leaving stuff on the table. So strength, follow a plan. Hypertrophy with progressive overload is key. We need to track our weight and our reps lifted to know that we're progressing. So that's huge, so that we can push. It also has habits in there because I'm a big lifestyle person. Let's create habits for the rest of our life, right? So let's add value to our life. And also another thing in there that's really, really important is I have a built-in community inside of there. So I really, really wanted to offer that within the app and not outside in a Facebook group, because some people, they just don't want some sort of social media. So I really thought that was important too. And then of course for an affordable price, so it's not going to be your, track your nutrition app. And like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, but everybody can use it. It's a simplified way to strength train all the days of your life. I'm trying to get people to come along and let's lock arms and don't look for something more. Don't try to make it guess. Just let's walk this out forever. And when you continue to walk it out, you'll see there's results on the path.
I love it. I think the simplicity of it is it's exactly what's needed, because people try to overcomplicate everything and we don't have to reinvent the wheel, to your point, right? You actually just have to do the work and do it consistently. Shocker. And yet I understand how that's hard, because life life gets in the way. And, one of my mottos, hard now or harder later. So here we go. Let's just do the hard now. And it's not that hard. That's the thing, right? I think a lot of times we make things out to be a lot harder than it really is. But usually it comes from a place of lack of knowledge or just lack of confidence, right? I don't know. And so if I don't know, then it's hard. No, you just don't know. And so here's something now you know. So this has been excellent. Before we officially wrap up, anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, I think it's really important to note that I don't necessarily think it's that people don't know necessarily. I think we just have a hard time with looking to the next person, and so got this, so got that, and so it is a lot harder to actually take slow steps and do the small things. I'm a big person. Let's add value in the small things, and where we hold value, that's where we'll be. And so I think most people, that's another thing that's a passion of mine, holding value on that scale. You have so much value on the scale that it's actually stumbling you and you're not able to take the next step in front of you. So that's a whole thing with this strength training app too, is I'm trying to convince people, and it is hard. I'm fighting an uphill battle here. I don't have the next best trick on TikTok for you. I don't have any fancy supplement to sell you. What I have is what works, but you don't know it works yet, but it's a hard sale, So I'm trying to get people to just take the next step and take it with me. I'm here with you. I'm in the same boat. I don't care. As you probably know, 30 years, 10 years, we're all taking the same steps, whether the intention is turned up or down, depending upon the season of life, we're all in this together.
Well, that's exactly right. It's the unsexy answer of the healthy lifestyle. I say that probably every single corporate well-being training I do. No shock. You want to achieve this? Oh, here's how you do it. It's the healthy lifestyle. You want to enhance your mental health? Oh, here's how you do it. It's the healthy lifestyle. Right. You want to have energy all day? Oh, it's the healthy lifestyle. You want to get a good night of sleep? Oh, it's the healthy life. It's the unsexy answer to literally everything. And that's why nobody likes that answer. Because it's hard. It means you have to make choices. Right. And that means the other choices that are so much more fun and entertaining and easier, they're not going to get you the ultimate result that you want. So, Joy, you speak my language. I love it. I can't wait to check out your app myself. And obviously we'll put everything for people to access in the show notes. But yeah, this was great. And I just applaud you for all of your journey. And to create something tangible like an app, I know that is not easy. So that's very exciting. Kudos to you and whoever was in partnership with you to do that. I think, finding these other ways where, okay, that didn't work, that doesn't work. There is something that works for everyone. And anyone out there who you think, oh, I've tried it all and nothing works. Well, you just haven't found the one that works for you. And you just got to keep on figuring it out. That's it. That's what this journey is all about, right?
Right. Lift weights. That's what the journey is about. Eat your protein and strength train. One thing I will say about strength training too, that I think people leave on the table, which is one of my very favorite things, is we can leverage that time in the gym by doing hard things. I'm a hard things kind of girl. So do the hard things in the gym. And when you think life is hard, it'll actually be easier. We don't need to be a victim to life circumstances. And believe it or not, our time in the gym reminds us of that, which I love. So again, it's that whole mental part of it that yes, muscle's cool, but how cool you get to leverage that time to be able to take care of life easier. Who doesn't want that?
Right? I know. It's great. I love it. This has been excellent. Listeners, I know there's a lot in here, and I am just going to strongly encourage you to reach out to Joy, find out about her app, about her programs. I don't guarantee a lot in life. I guarantee it is going to help you. If you have not yet embraced strength training as a part of your life, number one, I don't know why, because if you've been listening to me, I just follow Sasha's new life motto. Just do what Michelle says.
Right.
I love it. Just do it. And now we have a new way to make that easier along the way as well. So, Joy, thank you so much for joining me today. And listeners, now you get to go and be a better being.
Thank you for listening to the Be a Better Being podcast. We hope that what you heard today inspires you to embrace this journey of life with an open mind, a kind heart, and a willingness to learn and evolve. If you have a show topic idea or would like to be a guest, please visit betterbeings.net and fill out a contact form. Until next time, go and be a better being.